would absolutely recommend ThreatLocker for incident response, and here's why. Incident response is the reaction you have to a cyber incident, and there are processes around it. Usually it's identifying the threat, stopping the threat, containing it, eradicating it, and recovering from the threat. One of the things about most incident response companies is most of them are actually just forensic companies. Most of them will investigate the threat and then let you know that your company's in trouble. Hey, you've experienced this incident. We may have stopped it. Here's the investigation we have from it. But your company still isn't able to make money. Where Airiam succeeds, where they don't, is we actually help recover. We're kind of an evolution of most incident response companies nowadays. And where we see ThreatLocker really coming in for us is we're able to provide containment through the whole incident with ThreatLocker. In incident response, we're able to make sure that there's no reinfection happening. We're able to make sure that the threat actor is staying out of the environment while we're rebuilding the network. This could be days, sometimes weeks. Long incidents can stretch out to a couple months. There's a lot of investment. The companies are going through a lot of pain as we're rebuilding everything. It's a lot of work, and we don't want to lose all that work by having the threat actor come in and rehack the environment. ThreatLocker has our back. And in that case, it's easy to suggest ThreatLocker. I like to follow the SANS incident response process. There's also a NIST incident response process. They're very similar. When we first hear about an incident, a lot of it is human touch. We're getting a call from a company that's on fire. They're losing money, and sometimes if it's a large organization and enterprise, they might be losing millions of dollars a day. Their executives are having panic attacks. A lot of times they've already been up for 3 days. They're suffering from exhaustion. They're pulling all-nighters trying to solve this problem on their own. They call us, we have ransomware or some other cyber incident, and it's affecting all of our machines. We don't know what to do. We say, okay, we need to identify and assess the environment. We want to roll out some tools to gather artifacts, to stop the spread. In that case, we're rolling out ThreatLocker and usually an EDR solution to gather all the information about the network. ThreatLocker helps make sure that the spread stops, especially if it's with a large organization contained, let's say to the human resources or finance department. We want to make sure that the threat stays contained there too. So we'll use ThreatLocker to create containment. We want to make sure that it can't go any further than it has. We use EDR tools to gather logs, to build kind of the case for the attack and what happened. You can say, oh, it went in through Jack's PC, and it was hacked in through this application, or it came in through this email. We can find out that level of detail in our investigation. Once we've started that investigation, we also start expanding that containment idea so we can start recovering. While we're doing that investigation, we create a containment network and we start recovering servers. Their domain controllers, their application servers, their finance servers, their sales systems. Get the company so that they can make money again. In that first 48 to 72 hours, we want to get critical systems up and running. The incident may stretch for weeks or months later, but in that first 72 hours, we want to make sure that critical core systems are protected and up and running. And so we're rolling out those tools and getting that investigation started while we're creating that containment and restoration. Now, through the restoration, we're prioritizing servers and systems with the client. They may say these servers are critically important to us making money, or this has all our IP in it, our critical data. So we'll identify those crown jewels and make sure that we have the right protections and containment around those crown jewels as we're restoring them. Then one of the kind of critical linchpins is when you want to start opening access to those servers again. The client's network is still infected. There's still ransomware, there's still a threat actor potentially on the network. We've restored these servers, but they may have 5,000 workstations that haven't been touched yet. And we want to make sure that when a workstation does access those servers we've tried so hard to recover, that workstation's clean. So we'll install EDR on it, we'll make sure it's clean, and then we'll install ThreatLocker to make sure that it stays clean. Basically, it's in a cesspool of infected machines. We have these beacons of clean machines that we've validated, that have the right security tools, and are able to make sure that we are maintaining containment. And then we'll just open up access to those servers from those validated clean machines. And we keep working that way for however long the incident takes. until we achieve 100%, verification and cleanliness. And then when you think about containment's the whole network then. It's not just your critical things. It is now expanded to everything because we've worked through every workstation. ThreatLocker and EDR both have audit capabilities to tell us where the attack came from as far as what machine and what piece of malware. Cobalt Strike, which is a tool that threat actors use to propagate across the network and communicate back. Those kind of tools are really caught by ThreatLocker as well as EDR. And one of the things that's interesting about ThreatLocker is ThreatLocker will catch it before EDR. And so a lot of times EDR doesn't even recognize that tool existed. ThreatLocker will stop the tool from running. Since it never got a chance to run, EDR never registers that it existed. A little bit of a speed advantage to ThreatLocker there. EDR is really helpful at assembling those user actions to give us the whole picture. Right now, using ThreatLocker to see what tools have tried to execute, what malware has tried to execute, in addition to the user actions that EDR is catching, help me put together a full story of the incident. In incident response, we're using allow listing. We're not cycling it through learning mode and things like that during an incident response. We want to make sure that everything is stopped. Malware has no opportunity to go anywhere. And when I say malware, I mean even PowerShell scripts and command prompts, things like that. So we have it in full lockdown mode. In addition, elevation control is really important for us. That is how the threat actor is propagating. That is how they're owning the domain. We want to make sure that they have no chance to get administrative rights. Once they have administrative rights to a machine, they can export all the usernames and passwords from that machine. Chances are those usernames and passwords from server 1 are also your domain creds, or are also the same username and password on server 2. So we want to make sure that there's no chance to elevate control, elevate permissions, propagate through the network and own more servers. So in incident response, we're also using storage control and network access control. We're using that to control really our containment. I don't want malware or any other application to access something that it's not supposed to during an incident. When we're widening that containment net, when we're adding more servers to it, servers suddenly have access to each other. And if we haven't validated server 2 yet, we want to make sure that it's shut off at network access control and make sure that it is contained until we have validated that. So we're using network access control to enforce our containment. That is helping us to really put in those walls, even though they're maybe not a network layer control anywhere else on the network. ThreatLocker is helping provide containment through that network access control. So we discovered ThreatLocker at the Exchange event, and it was at a Denver Exchange event about a year ago. And I was in a boardroom and ThreatLocker did their presentation. I was immediately blown away and saw the implications for incident response. Although Exchange is an MSP channel event, I'm coming to Exchange from really a IR point of view. Once I saw them, I initiated conversations, did a demo, had the sales engineer involved. Everything was an amazing experience. I had trouble getting buy-in from the rest of the organization because I'm the incident response guy and the security guy. At the time, I was the CISO, and I was doing the security stomping, but nobody else was paying attention to me. Got a couple people interested in the product, but not enough to really get buy-in. We went to another MSP event called Schnizzfest. At Schnizzfest, our executive team was there. Our CFO, CEO, all of our other VPs. And they saw ThreatLocker being demonstrated, and they saw the booth and everything, and they were like, should we try this? And of course I said, told you so. We've been looking at ThreatLocker. I already demoed it 6 months ago. I already have contact information. Let me refresh that conversation. So that's what really started our partnership. Our executives got involved then, negotiated an agreement, and we became partners. Really with our focus now on being an IR company and using it for IR, and using it to feed our MSP and MSSP side of the company. I knew immediately what the tool would be able to do for us. It's very clear, its value. It's not something that you have to sell hard. ThreatLocker is very transparent in what it does. So it's just informing the rest of the team really where it fits in the stack, how to support it, and really the importance to the business as a whole to get the executives excited about it. In incident response, when I'm deploying ThreatLocker, usually Active Directory is broken. So we can't use GPO to deploy. So initially, we're doing a manual install. It's very easy to install. Just install the ThreatLocker agent on all the machines. The problem comes with scale. When you have thousands of machines to install it on, it becomes a problem. So usually our priority in those first really 12 hours of the incident, we're trying to get Active Directory running again. We install ThreatLocker on their core servers, and we get Active Directory back up and running again, and then we distribute ThreatLocker with a group policy from Windows. So we're pushing it out across the network. So really those first couple hours are just getting that distribution method fixed. The Cyber Hero team from ThreatLocker is the most amazing support team. With every incident, we have to give them a call. Usually we're running into some things that we haven't seen before, some problems, etc. They're very responsive. I haven't met a better support team in any, technology industry at all. Really our go-to for getting up and running. So really in our incident response process, when we spin up that agent, it's just be ready to call support and get that incident kicked off. Other security tools that are for incident response are usually extremely expensive with a very high bar to entry. And they have to be managed by super experts in that technology. Every major platform I can think of as far as incident response software is software that is not DIY, do-it-yourself software. Really, ThreatLocker's certification is about 24 hours. It's a decent amount of learning, but it's doable. Once you've done it, you really understand the platform and you're ready to go. You really have to be a complete cyber expert in a lot of these other applications in order to use them. I think the willingness of ThreatLocker to embrace incident response and give us a program, just like some of the bigger players in the industry have given us for incident response, is really a strength. We are able to spin up an incident very quickly with ThreatLocker, get it deployed, have all the machines protected with really minimal amount of expertise involved. We don't have to pull in our senior level SOC engineers. We don't have to pull in our CISO. It can be done by anybody. The strength in that is, it's hard to put a price tag on that. We would have to hire so many more high-level people in order to cover that gap.